making American history is what I call it. We are making American history every day. And for those of you who don't know, this is the next gen $100 note is the last denomination of that particular family of notes. We're working on the future generation of currency. So that is my other job, is I'm the chair of the Advanced Counterfeit Deterrence Steering Committee. So as the chair, I oversee the collaborative effort of designing future currency and all the security features that are incorporated into that. And that all goes to the Secretary of the Treasury for final decision. So I'm very proud again to be part of that process.
Do you think about cryptocurrency as a form of currency?
Well, I think the train's already left the station in terms of cryptocurrency. You may or may not know that I just joined the board of Ripple, and the reason why I chose to join that board is, in my opinion, one of the few cryptocurrency options out there that has a credible and legitimate use. So financial institutions use it to settle cross-border payments.
Hey everybody, there's something I wanted to bring up real quickly about ISO20022, and there's been a lot of FUD and talk going around about if you have tokens that aren't ISO, you know, are they going to be worthless, this and that, because of regulations. One thing I want to tell you about, it has nothing to do, most tokens won't really have anything to do with ISO 20022 in the grand scheme of things, I think 10 years down the line. Now, the global payment system focused tokens, yeah, they will. And the reason you're hearing so much about ISO 20022 is because a lot of those tokens are very popular in the crypto market. But what I'm trying to say is, if you have a bag, if you're diversified into a bunch of other tokens that aren't necessarily ISO 20022, like right now, XLM isn't even technically, but apparently they will be here pretty soon. But my point overall, like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like if you're invested in, let's say Veracity, something like this, something that still has a strong use case, but isn't going to be ISO compliant. Well, of course it's not going to be ISO compliant because they're not doing anything that has to, they don't need to be. ISO isn't an all governing body for the crypto market. So don't be worried about, you know, if your token is gonna be you know, on the blacklist or something and disappear. It's nothing like that. Now, if you have ISO tokens, there's a good chance they're gonna do pretty well, in my opinion. So it's not a bad thing, but I just wanted to make everybody feel a little bit better about the tokens that aren't ISO compliant. I want to go through some ISO stuff today, digging deeper into a few things. This is from 2019, and again, I've been looking at this stuff for months and months, and this Volante, they're actually partners with Ripple, and so this is what a lot of people, I know Bearable Bull has been talking about this for a long time too, and a lot of people don't realize that they've been partnered, they've been building this all for years, man, years and years. So you get Volante Tech here. I'm going to get into a few other things here, but I'm going to try to spell out a little bit further what ISO is in the next clip that these guys are going to be talking about, as well as the adoption. I mean, the adoption of ISO, this whole compliance, 2025 is their hard cap for the banks. And I'm going to get into that in the video a little bit later here, about 3 or 4 minutes down the line here. But this next clip is actually these partners right here talking about what I'm bringing up right now, and it's just interesting that this is going back to 2019, and even on their roadmaps, a lot of this was being worked on even before this. So check it out.
What is ISO 20022 or 22? There are, just for fun, we've got 3 answers to that question. One is from the book ISO 20022 for Dummies, great book by the way. The other from Nudge's excellent frequently asked questions, FAQ, on the subject. And the last from everyone's favorite, Wikipedia. Now, you'll note that they're all somewhat different, and actually in the case of the first and last, quite different. The question is, which is correct? Okay, well, it is a trick question because they are all correct. Going from right to left, ISO 20022.
And what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to speed this up so you don't have to listen to everything he's saying, but basically they're just listing out, just clarifying what it is, what it isn't, right? But I just wanted to show this real quickly here, because it'll dispel a lot of the myths going around about ISO. But yeah, again, it's not only for banks. Probably most likely will be 99% of the time, but it doesn't have to be. It's not Swift specific, excuse me. And I'm going to get into that in a second here. Here's the big one. Here's what I want to show everybody. Look, it's literally tells you right here, SWIFT will facilitate industry migration of cross-border payments to ISO20022 in alignment with HV Eurozone. They're telling you right here. Look, legacy format preparation for ISO. Everything they're telling you, they're moving from SWIFT into the new system by 2025. That's the whole point here. So yeah, SWIFT is still being utilized, and they're going to have, you know, some things come out in the next couple of years, whatever, just to keep pace, because they have to. Phase 2, March 2022, August 2023, ISO like for like, then boom, Fedwire stability period. 3-month post phase 2. Rollout complete and sunset legacy format. Rollout complete and sunset legacy format. Get that through your heads. We're moving into a new format. This is gone. This old system is gone. All right, sorry.
Reserve and the clearinghouse have taken a different approach.
And this is in 2019. This came out. I'll put the link below.
And they are converting their wire systems to ISO 20022. And outlined here on this slide, if you've attended any of their sessions, you're going to be very familiar with this. And essentially, their approach is in several phases, with an ultimate mandated sunset date of their legacy proprietary formats. And in the initial phase, they're requiring all financial institutions to be able to receive ISO 20022 messages by November 2020. And then by phase 2, they're going to require all financial institutions to be able to send ISO 20022 messages. And then in the final phase, and this is where it gets interesting, not only will the legacy formats be sunsetted, but then FIs and along with their corporate clients will they be able to leverage ISO 20022 and its enhancements.
Reading about it, and that in the next 5 years, I think by 2025 or rather, almost 80% of the transactions are expected to be complying to ISO 20022. Would that be correct?
That would be absolutely right. And in fact, I suspect the percentage of value will be even higher than that, since it's the reserve the reserve currencies that are really in the forefront of market infrastructure movements towards ISO 20022. And whilst I think it's perfectly okay for us to talk about this as a new language for payments, for me, I think it's even deeper than that. As a standardizer, I make no apology in being something of a purist. My vision is that the natural language of financial transactions, extending across the spectrum of payments, securities, trade, foreign exchange, treasury, and not just the interaction between banks, but the interactions between functions within banks and customers is actually what we're trying to implement. So gone will be the days when we have to integrate several different incompatible data lakes in order to gain an insight from previous customer transaction behavior. The idea that we have is that every application will be talking the same language and therefore storing its valuable data in the same language, which will make the job of integrating the different data pools that we have today that much easier. And of course, what that will do is make it so much easier to extract the valuable information lying in these data pools, which will help us innovate products and services faster and more effectively for everybody's benefit. So it is unashamedly a purist point of view, but I like to think that in 20 years' time, we will be probably slightly more grey-haired, but we will also be congratulating ourselves on being able to do things that we simply can't do today.